Hello, Otafam. This is Angelo.
Oh.
It's actually just Angelo. It's the Angelo show today, that's all.
That's it. There's
the
one
rest of us
person.
are actually figments of your imagination this time.
Yes.
Indeed. We're all
Nobody
fake and
exists
not real.
but
Only
me
five.
and the listeners.
It's
Yeah.
only been 2 minutes.
Jay,
And for that
Theo,
reason,
and me, Nancy.
The
We are all
podcasts
your...
are being recorded from home offices, and Otafest is still planning community content, even if we can't be together physically. We hope you're staying indoors where it's safe, and maybe working on your creative projects in the meantime. I'm working on video games. Keep your eyes and ears peeled via our social media, where you can expect to hear about our upcoming events.
Yay!
Yay!
Was Angelo cutting out for anybody?
He was
Yeah,
cutting out for
Angelo's
me
totally
too.
cutting out.
Oh.
What are you doing?
Well,
Yelling into your microphone?
yeah. It won't really matter because that's what the separate audio file should be for. So I'm not too worried
Exactly.
about
Well-
that.
Well, I'll be okay.
This is the fun stuff about recording online. Hello, everybody.
Did Jay just
Hello,
cut out?
everyone.
The
Okay.
logistics.
That was...
The
That was justice
logistics
served.
of plotting to hang out via the great series of tubes known as the internet.
I was
Mhm.
literally
Mhm.
asleep before this, or as this was starting.
I'm his sleep
Uh-huh.
paralysis demon.
Oh, that's what you are.
I've never
Yes.
had sleep paralysis. I'm
Me
okay with
neither.
not experiencing that, though, from what I hear.
Mm.
I have experienced
never-
it a handful of times, and it is not a fun experience.
It doesn't sound
I'm
fun.
told
It's never
that
sounded
it's
fun.
very terrifying.
Yeah,
I've
it's
never
never
personally
sounded
experienced
interesting.
Because you're like, cool, my brain is playing tricks on me, and I can see scary shit walking around my room, but I
Right.
can't move. Yay!
Yeah.
Please
it's no
wake
wonder
me
that
up.
people It's no wonder that people have that perception of being in a haunted room when that happens.
Yeah,
Like that's terrifying.
because your brain just can't figure out. Your brain's like half asleep, so it's like not.
Mhm.
It's not working properly. It's kind of firing on half cylinders, so it's only kind of visually processing what you're looking at, but only kinda. So you're just seeing weird shit that doesn't make any sense because your brain isn't really trying to make sense of anything, and you're just like, cool, I'm conscious for this. I don't like it. I want
I
this
don't
to
know.
stop, please.
I've lived in mildly haunted houses before, and those ghosts all let me sleep properly.
Okay, hold on.
The worst
What
thing that ever woke
mildly
me up
haunted
was
houses?
when I would have dreams of like velociraptors tearing me apart.
What?
You
No,
just...
that's just a sex dream. I don't know what you're talking about.
Whoa!
Oh, Scalies and Vor?
Yeah.
Oh
Lord.
my!
That ticks off so many categories.
But you
guess so.
skipped
No, wait, hold
over
on.
Nancy's question.
Yeah, back up
Okay.
here. What kind of haunted houses were you living in?
So back
The
when I
kind that
lived in
were haunted.
Ontario, there were 3 different houses in a row that I lived in that were well over 100 years old.
So here's
And,
the thing. Why does it
it's
have to
not
be
just-
old houses?
Because
Why
more
does it have
shit
to be old
happens
houses?
in old houses.
No. What you're under like people die every day in the
Yeah.
modern age in modern houses.
Of
Why don't we
course.
ever get modern ghosts? Why don't they go around going asking for like, what's your Wi-Fi password?
Okay,
or, like,
if you have
It's that
a
drywall.
drywall
buy me,
house-
sacrifice me avocados on my ghosty shrine, or I will, you know.
I'm sure, Jay. I'm sure someone's experiencing a haunting exactly like that right now from some millennial who shot themselves over
or
like
maybe
their
ghosts have
student
like
loan debt.
maybe our ghosts nowadays have like anxiety. So
But
yeah,
it's
they're
just-
too scared.
they don't
They're-
interact. Yeah.
It's a time scale. When you have an older house, more shit has happened in it.
Oh, true.
Like you could have houses in Europe that have Nazi ghosts and Axis ghosts actively fighting Allied ghosts from both world wars. Okay.
in your house. Damn.
Here's the thing: where are
There's
all
a piece
the
of history in
like
your
where
house.
are all the old ghosts? Why are we only talking about ghosts from like 70 years ago? Why can't we?
Dude,
Where
I
are
lived
all
in
the ghosts
100-year-old
from?
houses, so I'm talking about 100-year-old houses.
All I'm saying is we never hear about ghosts from, you know, like 5,000 BC, or
Well,
we never hear, and
are
we the
those
same way
ghosts-
we don't hear about ghosts from 5 years ago, you know.
I mean,
Where
to
they
me-
at?
Okay, wait.
Where they at?
I'm gonna- I'm
Where
gonna- I'm-
where
wait,
Amy Winehouse
wait,
goes?
wait. Okay, so we live in a house, and we have like it's a rental house, and it's not that like it's a house from the 50s, so it is like older, but it's not like super old or anything. But we have like what I am calling the demon door, right in our
Oh, it's
upstairs.
the door to the demon zone.
Yeah, there's like a weird like door in our in our upstairs closet that like where does it go? I don't know, but I don't want to open it and find out. So we just leave it there. And I'm like, well, could there be ghosts? I mean, maybe, but there was one of the previous tenants passed away. So maybe their ghost is just living in the demon zone and they're just chilling out in there and we just haven't let them out. It's possible.
Or,
I just think
don't
that
interrupt it, right?
there has
If
been.
it's just in there chilling out, you don't want to open the door and be like, dude, hey, I was in the middle of something. Leave me alone.
Yeah, they might just be maxing and relaxing in the little cubby there, and I don't want to be rude.
All I'm saying
Also, you
is
never want to let terrifying things out.
we have like
Yes.
7 billion people, 7.5 billion people living on the world right now, but like so many more times that billion in deaths, like all time.
Listen,
If
haunted
ghosts,
places,
why don't we have way more ghosts?
because
is all I'm
maybe
saying.
they're bored of ghosting and doing spooky shit. Maybe they just want to live in the spirit realm and chill out. 'Cause
Eventually
they don't want to
just
torment
pass
people.
on.
They're just bored.
Maybe those ghosts have just had enough time to deal with their business.
Okay, that's fair.
Probably.
That's fair. I can respect it.
Yeah.
I respect their
okay.
choices.
I mean, so like a 200-year-old ghost is just watching humanity go to shit and doesn't want to
Yeah,
stick
like
around
there's
for
like
it.
a lot of cool things, I'm sure. That like, if you grew up in a time where like rocks were were the best technology, but now we're like, like you got a lot of cool stuff, but at some point they're like, boy, like the world's fucked up and I don't want to be around for this. Or maybe they'll just migrate. Maybe you don't have to stay on Earth.
Yeah, like maybe you
Yeah.
can go anywhere you want, and so they only
Yeah.
chill out on Earth
Just
for
like
like 10
Maybe
seconds,
that's
and they're
why
like, man, this place
millennial
sucks. I can
ghosts
go
are all
anywhere
chilling
else.
on the moon.
Yeah.
True.
Could be.
I would go to
Could
the
be.
moon. I would haunt the moon. That would be sick. There's probably like a sick ghost dance club
Yeah,
up
but then
there.
there's that meme where there's like, what is it? Like there's an astronaut comes back from like Mars or something and gets a shotgun and it's like there's ghosts on Mars. Isn't there a meme for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There are ghosts on Mars. They're all chilling out. Dude, there's somebody on freaking Venus and they're just partying it up and they're having the time of their endless eternal life. And good for them.
Do you think ghosts have to respect the light speed travel rule?
Hell no.
I mean, even if they didn't, even being able to travel at light speed would be pretty good. Like,
Yeah?
what's eternity like? What's it's 11. What is it? 11 minutes from the sun to here, for example, traveling at light speed.
8 minutes, I think.
8 minutes?
8
Yeah,
minutes.
what's
Okay,
8
so-
minutes when you're going to be around for hundreds of thousands
Forever.
of years?
Yeah,
If
yeah.
not
For
more.
like, if eternity is
It would
a
still
thing,
be
is an
boring.
existence. No, but like you don't understand. In terms of a scope, when you live at a huge time scope, something like 11 minutes or 11 years or whatever is tiny. It means nothing. It literally, you don't even feel it. It's like blinking. That's how time scaling works.
You know,
Okay,
this
here's
is how
a silly
This is
question.
how we explained. We had a friend, and we tricked her, or like we convinced her that vampires were real by all behaving like vampires were real, and like explanations like this were like, yeah, vampires have been around for they don't really care to interact with people because like they have all eternity. This is exactly how we convinced her that shit was real.
Right? Anyway, Dio, I was gonna say you haven't been on the show for a while.
I
For a
haven't.
few episodes.
Nancy
What have you
has
been
a
up
question,
to?
though.
Oh yeah, Nancy did.
I did have a question.
Oh.
It's more of a silly question. If you guys came back as ghosts, what would be the thing that you did to haunt your friends so that they would know it was you?
I'd unplug their
Ooh.
cell phones while they're charging.
Oh
would
my god, that's cruel.
I would eat their
Oh.
food.
Yeah.
I'd have a bite of everything they ate.
I'd untuck the one corner on the fitted sheet.
I'd also pet the dog.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, I'd pet their
I-
animals would get pet a lot, like a lot of ghost
Pet their
pets.
dog and unplug their cell phones. I would be an absolute demon.
Yep, you sure would.
The best type of ghost to be is a poltergeist.
That's
Easy
true.
peasy.
He's
I don't want no I don't want no banshee business. I don't want no simple haunting. I want some like rip roaring bullshit, practical joke making jackass from death. From
I don't
the
know.
grave.
I really appreciate the kind of hauntings that just like fuck around with your stuff in ways that make you doubt your own sanity.
Yeah, like you want to do that trick where you move someone's furniture in their living room like 2 inches to the left, and then they all kind of like start bumping into all the furniture because they have a like a muscle memory of where it is all the time. But when they walk into the room, they're gonna be like everything feels weird, and they don't really notice it. That's the kind of shit. Petty, small, practical jokes that make them slowly lose their minds.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or
I'd go with that.
you can play that really long-term game where you just like start if you can write like wake up in like weird places all the time because there's like that really mean practical joke where you're trying to convince someone's in a coma and you're like writing messages where like
My God.
I
That's
don't know if you can
evil.
yeah the message like basically
That's
contains things no let me write let me tell you so what the prank consists of is like at first it's basically I don't know if you can put things on like their computer desktop or like little sticky notes or maybe like places that just like small surfaces that you would find weird like maybe on like your laundry machine or something like that you would just write like things like wake up or like start putting together things like maybe W and then KE and then P like you know what I mean like started like phasing a message in and then like they'll see it and like, oh, that's weird. And then over time, the message gets longer and more articulate, and it's like and eventually the message ends up saying like, you've been in a coma for 8 years. The doctors have let us try to reach out to you, but we don't know how you're going to see this message. But we just want you to realize that you're in a coma, and we need you to try and wake up and it's just like you just start putting like that message like in more and more places and like you have maybe friends that aren't mutual friends so they don't know them and you talk and you ask them to like bump into them on the street and they'd be like oh I'm sorry and then like as they're leaving they like stare each other in the eye and your friend tells them to wake up as well and then they continue on their way kind of thing. Very like Truman Show, very like simulator freaky.
I feel like Jay's thought about this a little too much.
No, it's an actual prank.
I mean, I could
get.
get behind that because, like, I mean, we went really ham with the vampire thing. Like, we really did.
Yeah.
Like,
You guys are awful people.
we had really sat down and thought this out to a point that we got so many people. Like, at one
Should
point,
we be asking Bayfar if he thinks he's in a coma? Have you been torturing him?
Bayfar has always
have
been in
not.
a coma.
Indeed. Like, we had like 35
God.
people in on this vampire thing, and like we had like very specific like what parts of the vampire lore are real and what parts are just like made up rumors and like.
That's sort of one of my favorite things about like I'm into like horror, but I'm not into horror as in like like I like watching movies with jump scares and crap like that. Like it's not that I just don't I'm not entertained by it, but I'm not really scared by it either. But I do like lore about kind of cryptozoology, like
Yeah, it's interesting stuff to read, right?
yeah, because you have things like, for example, in almost every culture across the world, you have like the idea of like some kind of fairy. You have like a lot of types of lycanthropes, people that change into animals. You have vampires are fairly popular in one way or another, which is interesting because even though we have at some point a shared history, but as we branch out further and further, there's even more. And maybe what it really means is that we just have a limited type of imagination and we don't
Maybe.
go that far. But it is kind of cool that we have so many variations on the very same basic core idea.
I kind of find it
Mhm.
interesting how there's giant apes on almost every continent that we've never seen.
Yeah, there's like Yeti, Sasquatch, that kind of thing.
Yeti, Sasquatch, skunk ape,
Yeah, skunk
bunch
ape.
of stuff.
So yeah,
Oh,
there's
Yowie in Australia.
Yeah.
Wendigo, I think, as well, sort of.
Wendigo's not
What?
really an ape creature.
No, I think
No,
he's.
it's just like
I
a
thought he
human
was like
cannibal.
a big. Oh, just a human cannibal. Get out of here.
Like it depends
I'm
on.
taking back your cryptos. I'm taking back your crypto card. You don't belong here.
Yeah,
depends
go
on
back,
which
go
legends
back
you
to
just-
buy.
crypto school and try again.
Yeah, you're just a cannibal. Get out of here.
They're either
Yeah.
like a emaciated
I mean-
human-like creature, or
Yeah.
they're like some rotting deer corpse, skinwalker type thing.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of different stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah. Anyway, yeah,
So
Dio.
before we deviated
Dio,
a really long ways away,
Yeah.
sorry. Dio, how's streaming going?
Super good. So I've been doing
Yeah.
that.
What you been
Um,
doing?
I guess I haven't talked about it because I wasn't on the show recently, but due to the whole thing that's happening outside, I was part of a temporary layoff, as many people are.
Oh,
So I don't-
furlough.
So I don't have a full-time job, but kind of a nice thing about that is it means that I can return to what was effectively my part-time job, which was streaming. So I have been streaming a
focus on you.
ton. Yeah, I get to focus on me and focus on my hobbies and focus on my interests and things that I want to do. And streaming has been a big part of that. That's something that I really enjoy and get like a lot of
mhm.
joy out of doing. So I've been streaming a lot. I've been streaming probably almost every day or every other day. For
Hot
the past
diggity.
little bit, and it's been super awesome. And I kind of hit the jackpot in terms of timing because 3 different games that I really wanted to play all came out more or less like at the same time, which was really exciting.
Right.
So it's been keeping me busy, is what I'll
Yeah.
say.
You have lots of content. I know a lot of folks. Excuse me. A lot of folks in general have been picking up streaming, just because obviously it's like content creation time. A lot of folks either are in your same sort of situation professionally, or even if they were like digital content creators, obviously they just kind of lost one platform and they're trying to move on to another that's trying to get more content out to people. So it's pretty
Yeah,
crazy right now.
exactly.
It's like it's like a big stream rush right now, I feel like. You've been playing Alex, obviously, with Angelo.
Yes.
Who's further ahead?
Dio's way further
I'm
than
definitely further ahead.
Oh.
As of yesterday's stream, I think I'm within like 2 to 3 hours of the end of the game.
Right.
Wow.
Because it dropped a
I-
pretty big plot bomb on me, and I'm like, okay, knowing the Half-Life lore and the Half-Life universe, this is pretty close to the end.
I actually haven't been able to play in a couple weeks just because work's been having me in almost every day.
Crazy.
In the last 2 weeks, I've had 3 days off, I think.
Oof.
But he has a bunch of time off now, so I'll be done, Alex, so he'll get to play Alex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing. It's not like you can really share the game that much. I feel
Yeah.
like
It's
playing of it.
the unfortunate nature
So-
of VR is it's a one person at a time kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, for this game.
Yeah, that's true. I guess, but for other games, we'd have to get another VR set because right now we only have one in the house.
Well, in the case of Beat Saber, you can install like a party mod so that you can pass it off and see who gets the best
Right.
high scores, but hey,
it's not the same. Yeah.
No.
it's not.
So,
They haven't really.
do
done
either of you ever experience kind of that sad feeling when you're finished a game that was really good?
Oh yeah, I get that
Like
a
you're
lot.
just-
I
that
got
feeling
that.
when you play a first game and it finally ends and you realize that you'll never play this game for the first time again.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
that was me with Death Stranding for sure. I was like, I'm never gonna experience the way that this story felt and how emotional, impactful it felt. Like, for the
I
first
get that
time.
idea, like the sort of initial playthrough feeling, but
Yeah.
I'm also really happy to just complete something, so it's kind of like
Yeah.
I don't get that. I
It's
don't
a
get as much
bittersweet
of a
feeling.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah,
not so
like-
much as sadness; it's a bittersweetness.
It's a bittersweetness.
So
Also,
indeed.
like-
do you think you're gonna feel that way when you finish Alex?
I definitely am, because like the Half-Life series in particular, and like Valve games in general, are pretty special to me. Valve games were kind of my entry into PC gaming, just in general. So I grew up playing Counter-Strike Source, and that's what got me into the Orange Box. So I started playing the Half-Life
I remember
games.
that the night that we built her PC, she wasn't even home before she was playing TF2.
Yeah, I played TF2 before I
Nice.
even got the thing home. So like I was super into Valve games. That's how me and Angelo got to know each other, was through Left 4 Dead 2. We used to play Left 4 Dead 2 for hours and hours at a time, and
Yeah.
I got really into TF2
like nightly.
Like nightly. Yeah, we would play every
Yeah,
night.
we played nightly. It was like Bayfar,
Bayfar, Jade,
Yavuz.
Dio, and me.
Yeah,
Yavuz was there, and someone else. I can't remember. There were a few like
Lane,
people that
Lane.
rotated.
and Cody.
Yeah,
yes. Lots
yeah.
of different friends. We would play every night. And then I got really into TF2, and that's what got me into competitive games, which is what ended up getting me into Overwatch. So, like, the Half-Life series is, like, very special because, like, number one, it got me into, like, other games that, like, ended up being really impactful in my life. But it was also my entry because, like, I started with Counter-Strike Source, but Counter-Strike was originally a Half-Life mod. So, you know, it all just comes back to the Half-Life series, and, like, that series has gone on and existed for so long. And people, like, we were all so patient. We were like, we're never going to get Half-Life 3. It's not happening. So we're never going to see another entry in the Half-Life series. Like, it's just done, which sucks.
Can I
So to
can I
have-
ask you like a question about Alex specifically?
Sure.
If the game was not developed in VR, so therefore requiring more development and more cost, if it was just a regular 2D FPS, or not 2D, but you know what I mean, like a just regular FPS.
A
that you
regular
play,
first-person shooter.
mouse and keyboard, yeah. It's about like what, 15 hours, right? 15, 20 hours maybe?
Yeah, more or less.
Do
and that's
you think
pretty typical for most of the Half-Life games.
Yeah, but I think it's like a $60 game, right? Like it's a AAA price, 60,
Yeah,
70 bucks.
Something like that, yeah.
Do you think
$60
it's
Canadian, to be fair.
okay? Do
As
you think
opposed to
it,
80, yeah.
do you think it's more like? Do you think it's worth at that?
So
Like if it was just mouse and keyboard, not VR
I
developed?
think if it was mouse and keyboard, the price would have gone down dramatically. I think because
Yeah.
it's already priced pretty cheap, considering the constraints of VR.
Yeah.
I think they would have charged less for it, but I still think it's worth playing. Like, it is a really fun experience, and I think the VR just elevates what's already like a really good experience. Like, it has really good callbacks to like the traditional gameplay that you're used to with Half-Life and Half-Life 2,
And
but
it's the
with
whole
a-
universe of the game.
it's the same universe. You get
Yeah.
to see familiar faces, familiar concepts, familiar lore bits, but then it also takes those lore bits and elevates them, where you get to see there's new enemies, for example, which is really cool. Like, you get to see all like different kinds of creatures, which is really interesting and really does expand the lore of the universe in a way. And you get to see new areas as well, which is cool. So I do think it is a good, worthwhile entry into the series, and there have been hints that supposedly this will lead to there being more entries in the Half-Life universe, and I really, 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 really hope that's the case.
So more entries, but not Half-Life 3.
Well, we don't know. They haven't
That's
said.
sort of that's sort of the bullshit, isn't it?
Yeah.
From a marketing perspective. Do we see a Half-Life 3 in let's say 5 years? Maybe.
Maybe, but
But-
maybe not.
God, it's
Just
like pulling
dangling
teeth.
that
It's like pulling
delicious
teeth.
bait.
Yeah,
It's
getting
just
him,
garbage.
which sucks. That is like,
Which
I'm
is-
happy we have Alex, but I'm like,
Yeah.
does the cost mean that we really will never see Half-Life 3 or an
So-
Episode 3 or anything in my lifetime? I don't
This
know.
this sort of wants this makes me want to go to like the next game I want to talk about, which is Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes, which I've also been
So-
playing and streaming.
Yes. So I have publicly stated my lack of enthusiasm, I guess, overall for the remake. At one point, I was like, maybe it's vaporware because it's taking so long to develop.
Right.
Well, I mean,
Uh,
they kind of announced it for the PS3, almost to the point where people thought it was going to be a PS3 launch title.
right?
They didn't, though. They didn't.
They
It was never
absolutely
an
did.
official announcement.
It was never an official
No,
announcement,
it was,
but they showed like
no.
a pre-rendered.
They
It
showed a
was
tech demo.
No, it was a
trailer.
technical demo.
Yeah, they showed a
And
tech
people
demo,
It was a
just
technical demo.
inferred from that.
which is wrong
Of course,
of
but they
them.
never
because-
said anything like we're remaking
Yeah,
it.
they never said anything. They've done a tech demo for every single Sony platform. Every single one.
Right. I just don't. I haven't really watched gameplay of 7 Remake yet. Like I've watched maybe like 10 minutes, but I wouldn't really call that, like in depth. I'm probably not gonna watch any gameplay of it. I'm probably gonna wait so right now there's an exclusivity clause for it of 1 year, but obviously this game's gonna be released in like chapters anyways.
Yeah.
So if I ever do
Yep.
play it, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna wait for all the parts to come out. I don't care if I have to wait 5 years. Like it doesn't matter. I'd rather just play
Yeah,
it. I'd rather
fair.
have the game available to me.
That's
you know.
fair.
Yeah, and I've never really been, I don't know, so edgy that I have to be able to play this at launch or around launch, or
Right.
I never really felt the need to be like in that first among the crowd type feel.
Right.
I'm okay
In
with that.
Dio's case,
And-
it's like her raison d'être.
Yeah.
Final
it's-
Fantasy
it's-
is like a life-defining
fine.
game for her.
It really is.
That is totally fine.
And so, like, I was really excited to play it because, like,
Mhm.
I think we talked about this in previous podcasts because it's like at the end of the day, whether I love the remake or I have mediocre feelings about the remake or I hate the remake,
The original exists.
game that
Yeah.
I fell in love with will always be there for me to
Yeah,
play.
that's always the mentality you should have for
And-
remakes and sequels and
And
everything
anything.
like that.
The original
Yeah.
thing that I fell in love with will always be there. So I went into the
Agreed.
remake with like I'm gonna get a chance to see my husband in high definition, which they delivered on. Oh my god, he looks so beautiful, and every time he smiles, I want to start crying. Like he just, oh, it looks so beautiful.
I have to say
I
that
just
like
can't.
style choices of the 90s being remade into high def like modern graphics. I'm not saying like for instance like Cloud doesn't look good, but there's a certain relic feel to it.
Yeah,
Like-
and I
like,
like that.
Nobody,
Like, for me,
no, but I'm saying like nobody now would have like Cloud hair. Nobody now would
Okay,
have like
true.
the clothing designs that they are being re-realized in. You know what I
guess
mean?
that's
Like
true.
it looks
I know exactly what you mean.
right. It's
with
like
a
saying
different
if
example.
it's like if all of us just decided like if nothing bad was happening outdoors, let's go have like a 70s disco theme party. You know what I mean? Like it's that
Yeah.
idea where like Angela's gonna get an afro wig, and then we're gonna get like those like rainbow suspenders and like into like a
Yeah.
big pair
Afro wig.
Like, the
of like
game
bell
for-
like some bell bottoms
Jeez.
and then like platforms, and then we're gonna go dance. Like so it'd be like seeing that kind of you're seeing like a high def snapshot.
day, young lad, I just used my regular hair for the afro.
Yeah, for me, it's like I'm getting a 90s nostalgia HD bomb, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I am living for
I
this.
think that's what's hilarious about it, right?
It is a 90s nostalgia bomb, and I'm like, this is what I wanted and more. Like, I will say with full bias, given that I already am in love with the series, I love this remake. It looks beautiful. The music remixes are outstanding. The way that they've expanded the physical areas for you to explore are really fun and honestly do add a lot of depth to the character's place in the world, which is really exciting for me. And they've added some new lore shit that I'm like, I guess it's fine. Like I don't have any particular strong, like they've given one of the side characters some additional backstory. I don't think it really matters.
Have you come across any immersion breaking enemies so far? Like House on Legs or like that wiggling frog?
Dude, I am so they put Hell House in the game and I'm so excited. That thing looks fucking dope. I can't wait. No,
Oh,
I love
really?
it. They took all of the stupid, I was like, how are they going to make, cuz there were some enemy designs in the original game that look really stupid as
What
fuck.
the hell? You can still buy the limited edition?
Yeah, I guess so.
Oh, really?
But
What?
like there were
The
some
unlimited edition.
But there were some enemies.
Actually, it's probably a matter of people
Is the
can't
first
physically
class-
go to stores to get it.
Yeah.
No, but it doesn't matter because,
Maybe.
like, for example, like Cyberpunk, their limited edition it's been gone for months,
I don't know.
maybe 4 or 5 months. Like, I'm just super surprised about that.
I
Sorry,
don't know.
I'm looking it up right now because I want to find the price. I don't know what the price is for the
I don't know
regular.
either. But there are some enemies in the original game that look like, if you look at them in a vacuum, you're like, how and why and who thought that was a good idea to put in this video game? Like the Hell House, which is literally, it's a house on legs that attacks people. And you're like, there is no way you can make an HD version of like stupid shit like that and have it work. And it not only is it not immersion breaking and like really cool to see these stupid enemies, but like the gameplay is just so fun that like fighting against Hell House literally feels like you're fighting against a house that Satan unleashed upon you. Like, you're literally just like, oh my god, this house is gonna fucking kill me. I'm stressed out. Oh my god, this is like the most intense battle I ever fought. And it's a house. How did they manage to make this enemy, this stupid enemy, is actually a thing
I mean,
that I care about?
you'd love to be a fly on the wall for like that design, that game design, like
Yeah.
conversation. They're gonna have the like, all right, so we're gonna get on to enemies. We've got some really basic ones. They're out of the way. Like they're looking good. Let's move
But you
on.
know
What's
what
the
would
next one on
really
the
make
agenda
it?
here?
Yeah.
Yoshi, how's it going on that house?
Yeah, the Hell
So,
House. Like, I don't know. I haven't found anything. Nothing for me has been particularly immersion breaking. Like, I figured with this game they were either gonna hit every single point perfectly, or they were gonna miss at least most of them, and it was gonna fall flat on its ass. And they've managed to hit everything somehow.
there's two battle
Has
systems,
there
right?
been anything disappointing?
No,
Well, I mean,
At all?
me,
Anything?
you just started.
yeah,
right?
I'm 10 hours into the game. Um,
That's still a goodly ways into a game.
I think the biggest shock for me was I figured I would not enjoy the changes to the battle system, and I actually really like them.
I was just about to ask you because is there two battle systems? Like you can play
Correct.
one way or the other?
Yes.
Like you
So
can
the
play the
game-
old way.
So the game gives you the option where if you want to play the old traditional way, which is where it's like a static,
Yep.
turn-based type of thing, you can do that. I chose not to do that because I figured if I'm gonna give this game like a fair impression on myself, I'm gonna play the new system that they designed and the way that they intended for me to play it and just see how it feels. And I was thinking, how are you going to blend turn-based gameplay and action-based gameplay, which is something that Final Fantasy 15 tried to do, and it didn't fail at it, but it didn't feel as seamless as I feel like it could have been. Like, it still felt kind of clunky in some places
Yeah.
and felt closer to a button mashing simulator where you could sometimes turn on like the turn-based stuff rather than like a strategy game where you're inputting the action directly, but there's still strategy behind it. This feels like a really good marriage between the two different styles of gameplay.
Is it Kingdom Hearts-esque?
You know,
Kind of, but not really. So it's Kingdom Hearts in the sense that, like, no, I wouldn't even describe it as it's Kingdom Hearts visually only.
Yeah. Everything that that I've seen, like I said, I have not seen a lot. The sort of like active battle system seems okay, but there are like the main issue that I've seen is sort of camera related. Like lock-ons are not great. Like when I say they're
So-
not great, I mean they're just not perfect.
Okay.
Like they have
so-
some issues moving between targets or
I
that
had
kind
a,
of
I'm
thing.
gonna talk about this because I did have a little bit. I did notice that at first, and until I really got the hang of it, I was like, oh, okay, I understand how this is supposed to work. And then the camera, like controlling the camera, made a lot more sense. So the way that the game works is essentially think of like your traditional action game where certain buttons do certain things. So you have that, and you need to like, walk up to enemies and actually hit buttons
Yeah,
at the right
engage with them.
time to do things.
Yeah.
You need to block, you need to dodge properly. But then you also have the option where when you open the menu, the game kind of slows down for a second, and you can issue commands to the character you're currently playing. So you can use like abilities, you can cast spells, you can use items,
Right.
or you can issue commands to your party members. But all of your commands, aside from like your attacks, your mode switching, so every single character has like 2 different modes that are swapped based on the triangle key. So besides mode switching, basic attacks, blocking, and dodging, you need to have an ATB bar, like 1 full ATB bar to do things like cast spells, use items, use special abilities, etc., etc. And the only way that you fill up that ATB gauge is by doing basic attacks, blocking, dodging, etc., like doing the button input stuff.
Right.
So it's really cool.
It's almost fighting game-esque in a way where you need
yeah.
Yeah, like you have kick, punch, heavy kick, blah, blah, blah. You go in, you attack, you fill in your super meter, and then you can do super.
You can do all of your other crazy shit. So it's really cool because it's like really, like, it really does force you to pay attention and not just be button mashing, because if you button mash, you're going to get yourself in trouble really quickly, because you will take damage, or you won't dodge an ability that you're supposed to dodge, or you'll be positioned in the wrong way. But as well, you have the idea that some characters in your party are short range and some characters are long range. And with long range characters, what you can do is you can use the target locking and command them to attack a specific target. And as long as you're locked onto a target, you can just flick the little, not the D-pad, the little thumb thing on the right side. You can just flick the thumb thing and it will just cycle through targets for you, so you don't have to position the camera at all, which I really liked because it made it a lot easier to keep track of what you were attacking or what you were commanding people to attack. But it became really tactical because you had to think about, every character has a max of 2 ATB charges. And you have to think about not only how you're going to expend those charges. So am I going to use like magic? Am I going to use an item? Am I going to use a special ability? But you also have to think about when, because you can get stunned. Like if a character has a stun, or like an opponent has a stun, like an enemy has a stun, it can stun you and it will still consume your ATB. So you have to think about not only what are you going to use, but when are you going to use it. And I really like that because it really does, like, I don't know, I feel like it's a really good... This is like, if you're going to try and marry action-based gameplay with standard RPG turn-based gameplay, this is the closest I think you can get to marrying the two of them.
When you were talking about the controls, like you were just literally talking about the PS4 control, that just reminded me of the release of the PS5 and
the new
their
controller.
PS5 controller. Yeah, I posted it into the Discord. I think it looks really cool.
I think it looks fine.
The thing that people don't like about it is that it's not a PS4 or PS3 or PS2 controller. It's very clearly a PS5
DualShock
controller.
has looked the same
In
for
so
20
long.
years.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
but that's
there
sort of
are
the thing.
very-
That's sort of the thing.
There
They're
are
like, why are
very
you
small
messing with
differences.
it? Why are you messing with it? It's sort of the thing that one of the things that Sony and PlayStation are expressly known for. This, by the way, I'm not saying that I like hate it or love it. I just the devil's advocate argument would be that why are you messing with a sort of, like, you're not Nintendo, for example. You know, you're not even Xbox, even though they're sort of tightening up their controller theme, shall we say. PlayStation has had a grip on what their controller should look like for the last 20 years. You're right. Which is why people are like afraid of change, I guess. But it has to be a good controller too, you have to assume.
I mean, it just isn't even that different. Like, it's not even that different.
It's not that different.
No, the main
Like,
difference.
if you show
the main
anyone this
difference
controller,
is,
people are like, that's a PlayStation controller.
the main difference is that if you hollowed out the top bit a little bit more, it would look that much closer.
It literally,
That's the main thing.
If you hollow at the top, it's the same fucking controller.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the contours are a little bit different. Like, it looks like they added a very slight tilt to the D-pad and like the 4 buttons on the right thumb. They made a bit of the controller like a little bit like a little taller.
Yeah.
And you
The
know,
wings are a little bit longer.
I can't judge.
Do you
Right,
think
so I
PlayStation
can't
will ever
judge.
swap the analog stick and the D-pad?
No, they won't.
Fuck you.
They really won't.
No.
Uh,
No, fuck you. No.
First of all, Nancy,
Anyway.
your opinion is incredibly wrong.
No.
Yeah, it's objectively
No.
a bad opinion. I'm telling
No.
yeah, I'm telling you this right now.
No.
Second of all,
No.
I
Why would they do that?
no, I'm saying
The
that
asymmetry is just
the asymmetry
no.
is a better playing position. Like you
No,
don't,
it's
It
not.
is.
it absolutely is.
Uh,
It's why
analog
literally 3 out of the 4 major manufacturers use that
Yeah.
configuration.
Okay. So
And it's not because
The-
it's not a preference, it's because it's actually a superior gaming position for your hands.
I don't think it's true.
The
You
face
don't have to
buttons, like
think it's true.
the X, square, circle, triangle, are there because that's where it's most comfortable to use them, since they are the buttons you're usually using.
Yes.
The problem with putting the analog
Analog
stick
stick.
down at the bottom,
Yeah.
when the DualShock was first designed, very few games supported the analog.
Yeah, they
this
didn't
is
need
back in the
they didn't
PS1,
need 8
it just-
directional.
A lot of times it didn't work. You had to use the D-pad.
Mhm.
And now modern games, almost none of them use the D-pad. Or if they do, they're for a very minor role.
They're for like inventory management.
And so,
menu
while you
select.
argue that moving the analog stick would make the controller look asymmetrical, the way it's used right now is asymmetrical.
Yep.
That's why the
That's a
GameCube
fair
did
argument.
it. The Xbox
That is
did
a
it. The
fair
Xbox
argument,
360
and I will
Xbox One
concede
did
to
it.
that.
There's a reason why the buttons on the right are used so
Fighting
well,
games,
but
the
directionality. is
PlayStation
bad.
controllers are perfect for them. If you have to use a controller.
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
mean, you might as well just use a fight stick. What's the point?
Yeah, but some
I mean,
people
not
don't want a
everyone's gonna
big,
go out
heavy
and buy a
stick.
fight stick.
But if you're
And
into
you already
fighting
have a
games-
controller.
Yeah, but if you're like
Exactly.
seriously into fighting games, like very few people really stick to the controller configuration, and then nobody uses a keyboard configuration.
Some people do.
To be fair, having the analog stick down like that doesn't bother me personally. But I can understand Angelo's reasoning as to why that's more popular configuration now.
It's ergonomically better to move it.
It's the question is, and I haven't looked too far into the specs. I don't know what they're planning again for that middle panel.
Well,
It's
just a
probably going to
touchpad.
be another touch panel.
But to my knowledge, the touch
I don't
panel was
like it.
not very well received. I
And-
just don't know
and
how
to be
you're going to
fair-
improve on it, especially because the controller looks bigger, which
Okay.
means I think it's even going to be harder to reach.
And to be fair, I actually
One
still
thing that was
prefer where
cool
select
about
and
the
start
touch
used to
panel-
be.
Angela, hold on.
Excuse me. Whoa.
Whoa.
I actually do miss where select and start used to be.
But what
I
would
don't
you
like
use it
how
for
it's
now?
just along the top.
Oh, is it on the top
You
somewhere?
still use them for menus.
Where is it?
Well, they're moved up more now. They
Oh,
used
they
to sit
are.
closer
You're
to the
right.
middle
Oh, I
where
see.
that
I
touch
do
panel
No,
now.
went.
sorry. I just meant the new controller. I'm like, I don't see any selector start on that.
Well, that's what they were called in the old
Yeah,
on, like, the
they are-
DualShock 2.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I know the old controllers had them. I'm talking about the new controller. I don't think has them.
It does.
Well, there's 2 buttons there.
Yeah, that looks like
Is there?
Can you not see them?
yeah the two
I
little
can't see
the
them.
little narrow like little bean-shaped things.
Yeah.
Oh, I was
Or-
looking in the wrong place.
Yeah, those two.
Okay.
I don't like the placement of the one by the face buttons, the X triangle, circle,
I
triangle.
mean, that's in the same
Whatever.
placement as where it is before. But I'm
Yes,
wondering if
but
it
I-
looks like the PlayStation Start button. I do see Nancy's point. I don't see it. Where is it? Where'd it go?
Why not?
It's
ju-
between
Is
the
it?
analog sticks.
Is it still
Yeah.
there? Okay.
Oh no.
But why
yeah,
not-
the PlayStation button should still be there.
Why not just have your stick click be select or start?
Because then you'd
Mm-hmm.
be hitting select your start when you have an intense movement.
But that
Yeah.
wouldn't really change. But here's the argument then is like, oh no, for the PS5 controller, like, why would that matter? Because you're like, if you're like, you don't really need a select button anymore. I think you only really need a
You
start.
really don't.
You still, I mean, Final
I think
Fantasy
that
VII
could just
Remake
be your
uses it.
selection.
Lots of games that I've been playing.
But they
on
use it
PS4
because
use
it's
it.
there.
That's true.
That's
And
like
so-
that's the difference. If it's not there, then you don't have to program for that, or you do. That's not a feature that you have to add.
But then, how do you port
But
games
to
that
be
did have it onto the new platform?
Right.
You would
So,
again,
to be
your stick click is still select and start.
Yeah, but those are actual controls though in the game.
Like lots of games use every single button, including the analog.
But not in old games. Like Final Fantasy VII doesn't have a stick click.
Right,
It-
but
it
Final
doesn't give a
Fantasy
shit
VII
about that.
Remake is a new
does.
game.
So, like,
Right.
let's say,
But then-
you know, however long it's going to take Final Fantasy VII Remake to complete, what happens if they're later, like, you want to port the whole game to the new console? If that button is
Right.
gone, how do you...
The button is gone, and it doesn't matter because again, you program for what you have, not what you don't have.
That's my point, is that you then have to reprogram the game for a new console.
I mean, they remade the whole
Yeah, that
game. It
would
doesn't
be a-
matter.
Right,
Well, then you're
That's
not. You're just not going to
that's-
get the game
That's
ported
what
over.
I call progression.
right, but I guess it's just kind of like,
Progression,
it's going
though?
to take so much extra effort than if you just have the same buttons between generations.
Right, and it's not anything different from what other controllers have. Like let's say the Xbox controller has the same number of things.
Sure.
And I'm pretty sure that controller also has stick clicks.
Oh, don't get me wrong.
And-
Every controller
and
still
two
has that.
bumpers and two triggers.
For everything that you want to ever talk about when it comes to, let's say, backwards compatibility, and then, like, you know, if consoles lack backwards compatibility, people have bitched about it. But it's always funny because the controllers have sort of always been backwards compatible.
Yeah, that's what I
physically,
mean.
not physically connecting, speaking, but if you were like, if you could make a PS5 controller play on a PS2, it has the exact same functionality that like as a PS2 DualShock would have had.
Yeah,
That's what I
exactly.
mean.
Now that I think about it, couldn't you use the PS2 DualShock on the PS1?
You could. Yes, I did.
could.
Yes.
And I know
think
for
so,
a
yeah.
fact that you could use the PS1 controllers on the PS2.
You could.
Controllers
yes.
have been like the relic in a manner of speaking.
Yeah,
You know
they've
what I mean? Like-
always been, and like that's why I have a PS4 controller in front of me, and one thing I liked is that like it's different from the DualShock in that it adds an extra button, but
Right.
there's no reason that I couldn't like. Assuming I could plug in my PS4 controller into a PS1,
Right.
if the firmware actually was interfaceable,
Working.
I would reasonably be able to play any PS1 game with this controller.
Yeah.
You know what? Now that I
That's
think
pretty
about it,
reasonable assumption.
it would just be a matter of making a little wireless module that plugs into the.
Yeah.
Yeah,
People have done
exactly.
that
Yeah.
forever.
And that would be a really cool side
It
project.
would
Yeah.
be.
That'd be neat.
One thing we're getting very close to the end here. I want to just tap on it because I think it's been a good little release. Valorant.
Ooh,
The
yes.
beta came out. It's the closed beta.
yes.
For anyone who doesn't know what Valorant
I
is,
have watched 25 hours of streams so far.
it's Counter-Strike with. This is how I feel about it. It's Counter-Strike's gun game with a Fortnite sort of like skin over top and sort of like Siege-esque, pared down Siege-esque skills.
Yep, that's a fair description.
like-
The only way to get
It's like
in is to watch
95%.
hours and hours of streams.
That's not
I'm
true.
over 25 hours of
Really?
streams
That's
right
not,
now.
That's not true.
Oh, how do you get in right now? You buy a key off eBay,
Yes, you could absolutely do that.
and
no,
then you get banned.
cannot. You'll get banned.
I know.
But you need to have that sense of accomplishment.
Listen, I'm a 1%er. I watched my 18 hours of Yasuo, and I've been playing since the
Yeah,
beta started.
somebody can watch like 1 hour and get a drop. It's fairly random, but they've been opening it up right now because from what I understand, they were trying to do a server test.
Yes.
I think was a
So
big
it started out fairly limited because they were doing
Yeah.
server tests and they wanted to see like how adding a bunch of people was going to handle capacity. You know, could the 128 tick rate servers handle it? Would it throttle connections?
Which is beautiful, by the way.
Yeah, it is. It
128
feels
tick rate.
so good. But
Uh,
they've also said that because like there are people who are trying to farm keys for the purpose of selling them
Yes.
by having multiple accounts.
But they're IP locked, I think.
But they are IP locked. Or no, they are not IP locked. But what they are doing is for accounts that they're seeing being transferred or being stalked on multiple IPs. So, for example, you have like 6 accounts on one IP, where it's like obviously Like, you don't have 8 people in one household all farming for a Valorant key. Like, that's just probably one person. If they're seeing that, they're banning people, and they're using
I was gonna say, there goes the dream
drops.
of your gamer house, hey?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
Your gamer house is not allowed to exist.
Yeah, gamer house, everybody gets one beta key for the whole house. Right. But they are freeing up, like, people who are sharing, or, like, not sharing, but selling accounts. They are banning those accounts and using it to free up more drops. So they're trying to get more and more people into the beta so they can keep testing capacity and stuff.
Yeah, from what I understand, I think there's 8 heroes right now, maybe more. I think, or no, that's like 9. I think they're trying to get up to 11 before the closed beta is actually finished. That's what I've heard.
Yeah, that's what I've heard as well.
And they're actually going to try and add either a couple new weapons or something. Like, they're very much testing things right now still.
So there's 10 agents. There's the thought that they want to get up to at least 11 or 12. They want to add a couple more guns, and they have also hinted that they potentially want to add another map. So that would round out the total of maps to 4 before the closed beta is launched. So there were I think there were 7 or 8 champions that they had shown before the beta started, and then there are a couple that are, like, they haven't been announced on the like on their social media or anything, but they are in the game for you to play and test.
So I did watch streams because I did get a key, and I will say that as someone who doesn't really play FPSs, I haven't played FPSs seriously for at least 2 years, because before that was Overwatch, and before that was Counter-Strike, and I had many years of Counter-Strike before that. This scratches like a really good itch for me personally, which is I do like strategic shooters. I don't necessarily know how much I love heroes, but I get it. The last time I actually checked on my Steam account, the last time I played Counter-Strike was like 5 years ago, so I don't know if I'll actually go back to Counter-Strike per se, but this is not a bad game at all, and I can see how it's going to be successful, and it's going to become free to play because it's a Riot game. They're just going to do transactions for
skins.
Weapon skins and things like that, which is fine.
Yeah. For me, it's a really good return to form. As I talked about earlier, I started with Counter-Strike and then moved into hero shooters like TF2 and Overwatch. And one thing I really like about hero shooters is, like, having all of your heroes, or in this case agents, have unique abilities means you have all kinds of, like, creative ways that you as a player can set up a play. But then I really love, like, from tac shooters, that you have really tight tactical gunplay, gun game type of stuff. So for me, this game is like a really good marriage between where I started and where I am. And I have loved streaming it, and I have loved watching. My favorite thing is to see how Overwatch players play the game and how CS players play the game, and it's going to be really fun to see how the two very distinct playstyles start to merge into one.
I recommend it.
I am not a very competitive person, so I feel like this would be out of my depth.
You don't necessarily have to be competitive, because what's going to happen is there's going to be a ranked, like, sort of ladder system, and then there's going to be, like, your casual play pool. So you could always lurk in the casual play pool, and it's going to be free to play. So it's not really a concern, although you might want to drive yourself to be a little bit better, not necessarily so you could play ranked, but just so you could feel good about, participating.
Progression.
A little bit. Yeah, like, it's I know that one of, like, the comments that I've come across right now is, like, well, it's 2 things. One of it is it looks a little bit geared towards kids. Like, it definitely has that feel to it, which is why I said, like, it sort of has a Fortnite skin applied to it. I don't necessarily love it. I don't hate it either. Like, I understand who the audience is. I'm just here for the game at the end of the day. You know what I mean?
I think that the cartoonish style isn't actually a matter necessarily of it, like, being, like, the age demographic. I think it's a matter of they want the models to be fairly minimalistic so that it's not something that lags your computer. Like, it's not a matter.
The voice acting is really bad, though.
I like it.
Like, it's not just an aesthetic thing. It's just, like, the voice acting and the lines are kind of bad. That kind of match.
I like
them. They're cheesy. They're cheesy as shit.
I like them. They're funny. I find them funny.
I don't know.
Would you
maybe
say
Nancy
that
can
like an
listen to 'em.
80s action movie? And how cheesy they are?
No, they're just like plain bad.
It's very
Okay.
memey, and I like it. I like that
Yeah.
kind of humor. So for me,
I really
it's
hope
funny.
I really hope they tighten up some of the voice acting a little bit, because it's like it's sort of, they're trying to lean on sort of how Overwatch does voice lines, except Overwatch has
The
just
power of
better.
science.
They have more character and
the
more.
power of science.
Yeah, I don't know. And then the other thing is, there's gonna be there has to be some serious balance on the characters, because unfortunately there are already a couple of characters that are like
Junkrat Girl is OP.
real, yeah.
But
Reyes,
she's already
Reyes is
been
too
nerfed.
strong.
They fixed her. It took them 3 days to patch the character. I'm so happy. It took them 3
Well,
days.
that's the thing. It's being backed by Riot, right? So you have to have a little bit more faith than usual, I think.
And they
As well,
fought-
it
they-
is beta, so they can change whatever they want whenever they
and
want.
they're
It's
doing
true.
it. I mean,
true.
Rito is very much well known for they are very consistent when they patch League of Legends and when they patch TFT, and they'll probably be very consistent in how they patch Valorant. But I think it was very impressive that the minute people were like, "Yeah, this character's nades are a little busted and deal a little bit too much damage," and they were like, "Yep,
Oh.
cool." 3 days later, here's a fix.
Anyone else have
Go nuts,
anything
keep testing
before
it.
we end?
I like turtles.
Oh,
I also like turtles.
same.
Turtle
They're
soup.
adorable.
Bye bye.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.